Alright, we're going to continue on with multiplying binomials, but the next two areas that we're going to be doing in this video are some special cases, and basically it just means you can take some shortcuts. And we already talked about it, this first one a little bit in the last video. It's called a difference of two squares. It's when you multiply the same thing two times, but one time it has an addition sign and the next time it has a minus sign in it. Okay, and we showed last time how you can do this, and basically, right, you distribute, okay, so you use the FOIL method, okay, and you do x squared, and you get minus 4x plus 4x, and minus 16. Those two cancel out, and so you end up with x squared minus 16. Okay, and so hopefully what you can kind of see here is if you look at this, okay, you'll see that the first term in your answer, okay, the x squared, is just taking the first terms and multiplying them together, which basically it's just saying square the first term. So x, instead of x, you now have x squared. And then you square the last term, or the second term in the parentheses. So 4 squared is 16, and then you just leave it as a minus every time. That's why they call it a difference of two squares. It's a square there and a square there, perfect squares, right? X squared and 16 is the perfect square of 4. And then you subtract them. That's why they call it a difference of two squares. Okay, so if you look at the next one, okay, we'll do the shortcut this time. So notice how they're exactly the same thing, except for there's a plus in the first one and there's a minus in the second one, okay? But everything else is exactly the same. So the shortcut, square the first one. So 2w squared, and then you can do minus and square the second one, 5 squared. Okay, so 2w squared, 2 squared is 4, w squared is w squared. 5 squared is 25, and you put your minus. That's it. Okay, it's called a difference of two squares, and this is really going to come in handy actually in the next unit when we're talking about factoring, because you're going to want to look for this, a perfect square in the beginning, a perfect square at the end, and a minus in between. Okay, the difference of two squares, and you'll know factoring basically is just going backwards. You start with the answer and you end up with the parentheses. And so you'll know every time how to do this. You take the square root of the first, square root of the second one, and then you do a plus and a minus in there. But anyway, that's for next unit, so let's finish this one. Alright, so the last term, we have negative 4x and negative 4x in the beginning, and then minus 10y and plus 10y, so they're exactly the same with the plus and the minus in the middle. So let's square the first one. Negative 4x squared, negative 4x, all of it squared, is going to give you positive 16x squared. And then 10y squared will give you 100y squared, and then we put our minus. That's it. That is the basics for the first set, okay, difference of two squares. Try these on page 11 of your notes and see how you do, and then I'll do them for you in just a second. Alright, so let's take a look at the try these. Alright, so the shortcuts. First one. Okay, first term is x, and we're going to square it. We're going to do minus, and the second term is 2, and we're going to square that, 4. Done. Okay, next one, 3x. 3x squared is going to give you 9x squared minus 25. Okay, next one, x squared squared. Okay, if you look at that squared, that's going to be x to the 4th power, because x squared times x squared is x to the 4th, minus 7 squared is 49, and then we have 2x to the 3rd squared. So 2 squared is 4, x to the 3rd squared, so x to the 3rd and x to the 3rd makes x to the 6th, minus y squared. That's it. Pretty simple. Okay. Now you want to be looking for those. Now obviously if you don't recognize them, you can work your way through it. It's not a big deal. Okay, you can just go ahead and do your foiling and you still get the same answer. But knowing these little tricks is going to save you a ton, and in the next unit it's going to make things a whole lot easier. We're going to go on to the next part in just a sec. Okay, the next section is called squaring a binomial. And so if you look here, we have a binomial. We have x plus 3, and that whole amount is squared. Now, obviously, you can go through and just write it off to the side if you'd like. I'll do it over here for you. Okay, x plus 3 times x plus 3. Okay, and you FOIL it all out, and you'll get x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9, and you'll end up with x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, now, and hopefully when you look at this, you'll see a couple things. First of all, okay, when you do the square, okay, if you look closely, you'll notice that the first term in each of them, okay, the answer is just the square of the first term and the square of the second part. Okay, so the square of the end number. Okay, so that's the first thing to recognize. The second thing you can recognize is this. If you multiply the two of those together, so 3 times x, and then you multiply that times 2, you'll end up with that answer in the middle. Okay, so that's the trick to this. What you do is first, okay, you square the first term. So we got x squared. On the end, you square the last term. That's going to give you 9. And then for the middle, what you do is you multiply 2 times your x and times your last term. Okay, so then you get x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, pretty simple, right? Okay, square the first term, square the last term, multiply the two together, and multiply it times 2. That's it. Alright, so let's take a look at this one. So we square the first one, t squared. Square the last one, negative 5 times squared is plus 25. Okay, we got negative 5t, so t times negative 5 is negative 5, and then times 2 is negative 10t. And that's your answer. Okay, pretty simple, right? Okay, but you got to remember the steps. So this is a squaring a binomial. Okay, you take your time, you square the first one, square the last one, multiply them together, and multiply it by 2. That's it. Okay, so let's take a look at another one here. And we have 2x plus 7 squared. So 2x squared is 4x squared. 7 squared is 49. Now we multiply them together, that's 14x times 2, 28x. That's it. Okay, and then the last one we have here, we have 3x minus 5y squared. Oh, nope, sorry, that parenthesis goes outside that. It goes inside of that squared. Put it in the wrong place. There you go. Alright, so 3x squared is now 9x squared. Negative 5y squared, it becomes plus 25y squared. 3 times 5 is negative 15, squared is negative 30, sorry, times 2, and then we have x, y. There you go. That's it. Okay, those are the shortcuts for you right there. Square the first one, square the last one, multiply them together, times it by 2. Try these a shot, and see how you do. Alright, got a bunch of try these on this one, and notice they're in two different ways here. Okay, we have some where they're squared and some where they're written as 2 parentheses. But hopefully you've noticed when you looked at the 2 parentheses that the 2 parentheses are the same thing, which means you could actually write them as 1 parenthesis squared. Okay, so hopefully you realize that. If you didn't, go ahead and bonk your head against the table or something. Don't do it very hard though. 5x squared plus 4 squared. I'm just going to change all these. Alright, there we go. So now let's do this. So we got the first one. X squared. We got plus 4 on the end. 2 times x is 2x times 2 is 4x. There you go. Done. I'm going to do the next one in blue because I like blue. We have y squared. Negative 9 squared is plus 81. Negative 9 times y is negative 9y times 2 is negative 18y. Okay, 4x squared is 16x squared. We got plus 25. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20, times 2 is negative 40x. Okay, moving right along. A squared plus 16. Negative 4 times a is negative 4a, times 2 is negative 8a. Okay, 25x to the 4th. 16. 4 times 5 is 20, and times 2 is 40x squared. And finally, the last one. We have 16x to the 4th. We got plus 9y squared. Multiply them together. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, times 2 is negative 24 x squared y. Alright, that's it. That's special cases of binomials. Hopefully you got that. If not, go back and watch it again and see if you can pick it up.